Well, I looked at this more so from not just a real football, but from a fantasy football perspective, because, we always say here, we're not all 22 guys. We're not breaking down tape, so it's a lot harder to look at it that way. But I kind of looked at this from a fantasy point of view and kind of put together a list of receivers who target them at various stages, at various points of your draft to help you take home a trophy. I'm a 3-time champion here, so I kind of know what I'm talking about, Susie. Okay, so let's start off with tier 5, if we could get that put up. Now, these are guys who, they're basically wide receiver 1 or 2 on their teams. Not necessarily ones, I should say, 2s or 3s. These are guys who I think you could really target later on in your draft. Wait to the later rounds, and they should be there, and they should help you get some success. And that's Adam Thielen. He's got a rookie quarterback there, so he could be a safety blanket. Hollywood Brown, Chris. We know Colt McCoy is going to be the quarterback for we think for at least part of the season. I don't know what the Kyler Murray situation is, but I think Hollywood is still definitely someone you want to get on your team, and he'll have some value later on in your draft. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Look, anytime Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, you're going to have some value. I don't know who the wide receiver 1 there is going to be. I mean, we obviously know it's Travis Kelce. He plays tight end, but I think MVS is a guy who's caught passes from Rodgers, catching them from Mahomes. He's a guy you might want to get. George Pickens, we're big fans of him here. Look, if that catch we saw him make in practice the other day is any indication, Pickens is going to have a great season. Can't guard Mike Thomas. We don't know about Mike Thomas. A healthy Mike Thomas would be a tier 1. I think we're all in agreement with that, but he's had injuries. We're not sure where he's at. So I stuck him down there in the 5. And then, to round out, we have Odell Beckham Jr. Brockman's not sold on him. I think Odell's going to have a good year with Lamar, DJ Chark, Gabriel Davis, Jahan Dotson, and Michael Pittman Jr. round out the tier 5 guys. Now, moving up to the tier 4, these are, you're going to look to pick these guys, probably in round 3 or 4. I think that's a good spot to maybe start taking some of these guys. In tier 4, we have Mike Williams of the Chargers, Tyler Lockett of the Seahawks, DJ Moore of the Bears, who, look, he and Justin Fields might have a chance to do something really special in Chicago. A lot of people aren't sold on Fields as a quarterback. We're going to see, but he's got a great target in DJ Moore. Brandon Ayuk, one of the best route runners in football for the 49ers. We got Jerry Jeudy in this tier. Deontay Johnson of the Steelers. He and George Pickens are going to really do some big things with Kenny Pickett, I believe. Christian Kirk. Jordan Addison, a kid who sat in this studio, Susie, he sat in that guest chair. I got a sneaky good suspicion that Jordan Addison is going to have a great season playing opposite Justin Jefferson. So pick him up if you get the chance. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba. And, maybe this is a homer pick, Chris. I don't know. But wherever Brandon Cooks goes, he puts up 1,000-yard seasons. I don't see why this season's going to be any different with the Cowboys. He's going to be a guy who's always readily available in your fantasy draft, even sometimes during your waiver wire. So Brandon Cooks is a guy that I would say look to getting on your team, because I think he and Dak could, despite what everyone's saying about Dak throwing picks, I think there's something special there.
Yeah, TJ, and I think when you look at that tier specifically, you look at guys who could be maybe tier 1 or that upper part of tier 2. I think you're looking at a guy like DJ Moore.
Yes.
If Justin Fields does throw for 4,000 yards like he said he wants to,
exactly,
and is capable of doing, DJ Moore is going to be a guy that does have 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's going to be the number 1 receiver in Chicago, probably along with Cole Kmet. And that's what you're looking for here in tier 4, especially in fantasy. You're looking for value.
Absolutely.
Who's got the best breakout potential? Christian Kirk. Think about how many more looks he's going to get now, single coverage looks he's going to get now with Calvin Ridley down there, who I'm sure you're going to have coming up very soon. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for value here. Who's got the best chance to skyrocket and get into that lower end of tier 1, upper part of tier 2?
But Chris, what's your reservation on Odell? I'm just curious about that one.
Haven't seen him play in a while. When was the last time we really saw him play? He played one half of the Super Bowl and was pretty good, obviously.
He dominated.
Could have been on his way to being MVP, perhaps. I don't know. But sits out all of last year. He's another year older. A second knee surgery he's coming back from. Very, very difficult. And just, Lamar Jackson as a downfield passer, we haven't really seen so far throughout his 5-year tenure here in the NFL. So just a lot of unknowns, I think, and especially with the offense, new offensive coordinator. Are they going to air it out more, or are they going to still be kind of a run-first team? Just the unknowns of the Baltimore offense.
I think that's one of those battery mates that I'm looking forward to seeing, though, the most. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
Super
there.
sexy. The names, obviously, got big personalities, big playmakers. Lamar MVP. So you're just, obviously you're hopeful. If you're a Ravens fan, it definitely excites you. Big names, definitely sell tickets, get butts and seats. But is the production going to be there? It's not 2018, 17, 16. We'll see.
Older players, I get it, but still.
We'll see.
I mean, look,
I'm a known skeptic.
Really? Wait. Really? You? I had no idea.
Believe it or not, yes.
I had no idea that you tended to go dark on that one.
So now we're going to move into this tier 3 of wide receivers. These are all guys who, like, on any given Sunday could give you big production, and they're guys you definitely want to have as your own personal wide receiver 1 or 2s. Devontae Smith of the Eagles, Drake London, Deebo Samuel, just because of what he can do, both running the ball and catching it. T. Higgins, Christian Watson. We don't know about Jordan Love, right, Chris? There's a lot of question marks, but if you watch Christian Watson last year, you saw this guy develop into a really great wide receiver, and if Jordan Love can do what the Packers are hoping he's going to do, then that's going to mean that Christian Watson has to have a big year, and I think he's got the skill set to do it. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, again. Baker Mayfield is quarterback. I personally think that is going to help Baker. Chris is not of that mindset. He doesn't think Baker is going to get it done, so that could hurt the fantasy seasons of Evans and Godwin. And you got Calvin Ridley, who Brockman talked about. We're both Trevor Lawrence fans. Calvin Ridley coming back off of just a dumb suspension, in my opinion. I think Calvin Ridley is going to ball out. And then you got Keenan Allen, another guy who's known for great route running, kind of declining in his numbers a little bit, but Justin Herbert's got that big contract now. So maybe, I don't know how that's going to reflect on Keenan Allen, but he's a guy who I love to have in fantasy because it seems like he's always going to end up with 100 catches in the season and just very, very dependable. And then you got DeAndre Hopkins, who, look, Ryan Tannehill isn't the sexiest fantasy name out there at quarterback, but maybe having D-Hop to throw the ball to will increase his sexiness a little bit. And then you got Amari Cooper, who I think Deshaun Watson is going to have a great rebound season. And Terry McLaurin, I'm not a fan of the Washington football team, but I got to admit, this guy's amazing. Great, great underrated receiver. And he's someone who I tend not to take players from teams I hate on my fantasy team, but I'd have to make an exception for Terry McLaurin.
Who's your first draft every year? Like, who's the guy you want when you get together with your boys and eat burgers and all that stuff? And
that's tough.
Who's the first guy you really want to have?
This year or just in general?
Both.
Man, I always needed to have a top-tier quarterback on my team, no matter what that is. Who that is each year kind of changes, depending on somebody sneaks up. But you know who you wanted. You either wanted Peyton Manning, you wanted Drew Brees, you wanted Tom Brady, you wanted Brett Favre, you wanted Aaron Rodgers. You want guys who you don't have to worry about each week. I know I'm going to get 20, 25, maybe 30 points every week out of this guy, and I don't have to think about it. You really can't win your championship. I know this just morphed into a fantasy segment, TJ. I know you can't win your championship unless you have an upper echelon tier 1 quarterback, and so I always make sure I have one of those.
So who's this year?
And if I don't, last year I got stuck with Russell Wilson.
How'd that go?
Because dude took Jalen Hurts like 2 picks ahead of me when I was set to grab him, and it didn't go great.
Yeah. How'd that go for you?
I finished second to last. So this year I'm looking at Herbert. If you can get Jalen Hurts, get him. But I think Justin Herbert, this is going to be the breakout we've kind of really been waiting for.
So you showed him the money, and now he's going to break out?
I think that's how it goes.
TJ, who do you try to get? Well, I don't play fantasy, so I have to ask questions.
Well, just to piggyback off of what Chris said about the quarterbacks, the worst thing you can do, and I've been guilty of this, and it stinks, having 2 quarterbacks means you have 0 quarterbacks. There was one season where I had Aaron Rodgers and Carson Palmer, and every week the guy that I sat had more points than my starters. I'm talking for like 11 weeks in a row. You don't want to have to make that decision on a quarterback. Like Chris said, you want to get a quarterback that if you're down 25 going into a Monday night game, that you have a good chance to win. So I agree with him on that. It used to be running backs, right? The value of running backs was so high that you always want to get like Marshall Faulk or LaDainian Tomlinson, those were your guys right off the bat, right off the top of the draft. Now it's changed a little bit, but I'm still under the impression that, or under the thought process that because this wide receiver group is so deep that you're better off still getting your running backs early, because as this tier system's showing you, there are so many wide receivers. There's so many guys I didn't even put on this, but we're going to move on to tier 2 with that. These are your guys who are like, second round picks. I think, they're dependable. They're going to get you, 15, 16, 17 points, bunch of catches if you're in the PPR league. These guys are great. Chris Olave, I think he and Carr are going to have a good season this year. DK Metcalf, we know what time it is with him. Jalen Waddle, a healthy Tua is going to mean that Jalen Waddle could possibly win you your fantasy league. Then you got my guy, the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jared Goff doesn't get a lot of props. He doesn't get a lot of, when you talk about your top quarterbacks in the league, but he made the Sun God one of the best receivers in football last year, and I think that's going to continue. Now you got Garrett Wilson, right? This guy is very talented. He's got Aaron Rodgers. Unlike you two Jets haters, I don't necessarily hate the Jets. I feel Aaron Rodgers is going to have a great season, and the biggest benefactor of that season will be Garrett Wilson. A.J. Brown.
I thought you were going to say Rich, but okay.
Well, him too. He's going to have a fun time with it. A.J. Brown.
Love A.J. Brown.
I mean, how can you not, Chris? A.J. Brown is just a beast. CeeDee Lamb. A lot of people try to knock CeeDee Lamb because of Dak, but you look at the stats, you look at his body of work, and you just look at his skill set. CeeDee Lamb is as good of a wide receiver as there is in football. And then I have Cooper Kupp in tier 2, and you see there's an asterisk there for our radio audience simply because he had that injury in practice. I'm not sure how he's going to respond and react to that. Had he not gotten injured, he would have been on this tier 1 that I have. Now, these tier 1 guys, these are, the top of the food chain. These are the guys you want to grab in the first round. These guys are going to put up 100-plus catches. They're going to get you 10-plus touchdowns. Every week, you're going to plug these guys in and not worry about. And that's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Steph Diggs, and Tyreek Hill. I think these are the absolute best of the best when it comes to the wide receivers. Fantasy-wise, these are the best of the best. And, again, I would have Cooper Kupp there had he not pulled up injured in practice. We got to see how he is. But right now, you want to start a draft and grab one of those 5 receivers because you're going to have success with Jefferson, Chase, Adams, Diggs, or Hill. And that's just kind of my fantasy tier rankings. That's how I'm looking to move into the fantasy season as we're starting to draft and get ready for fantasy football.
Love it.
Chris, who's yours?
My top tier wide receivers right
there?
Yeah,
give me 2-3 guys you really want.
Jeez.
Come on.
I really want?
Yeah.
I really want Justin Jefferson. I'm not going to get him. He's probably going to go first overall in my league. I think Devontae Adams, say what you want about Jimmy Garoppolo, but
he's so handsome. That's what I'll say.
That's what she's going to say.
That's true. That's true. That's a great point. I think handsomeness does translate to winning, as we've seen with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I love it. I think Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, you can't go wrong with either one of those guys. I think Miami has shown that they have such an explosive offense when they are really cooking, and Tua is healthy. So if you can grab one of those guys, like TJ said, you're not going to have to really think about it. You just know you're going to get 15 to 20 points out of one of those guys. So those would be my big 3.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.